Hello friends, welcome back. So in today's video session we will be discussing an first topic under medicinal chemistry, history and development of medicinal chemistry. So medicinal chemistry is also referred as pharmaceutical chemistry. So we'll see first what is medicinal chemistry or pharmaceutical chemistry. So this medicinal chemistry involves discovery. So we discover new drugs, new compounds which have some medicinal property, which have some pharmacological action. So we are interested in discovering the molecules. In medicinal chemistry we also do the development of these discovered molecules. So we convert the lead molecule into a drug candidates, and drug candidates which undergoes a series of trials which becomes the drugs. We also do identification, interpretation of the modes of action of biologically active compounds at the molecular level. Okay, so this is basically what the medicinal chemistry is involves. We can also define the medicinal chemistry as interdisciplinary science because it deals with pharmacology, it deals with biochemistry, it also deals with molecular biology and immunology. We also study some of the aspects of organic chemistry, physical chemistry, theoretical chemistry, molecular spectroscopy, crystallography, and we even take the help of computer and the information technology to design the new molecules. So this is how we can define a medicinal chemistry. So basically it is considered as an interdisciplinary science which is helping us to discover the new molecules which we can convert them into a drugs which will have certain pharmacological or therapeutic action. So what basically we refer it as a drug. So drug can be of organic or it can be of inorganic compound, and biomolecules like proteins, antibodies, etc., that activates or inhibits the function of a target with benefit to the patient. So most of the drugs, they act by inhibiting or activating some kind of receptor, and they are referred as agonist or antagonist. Okay, and these compounds will exhibit, after blocking or after activating that particular receptor, some pharmacological action will be developed. So these are basically drugs. For example, we have here the structure of isoniazid, which is abbreviated as INH, which is a very popularly used drug for the treatment of tuberculosis. Similarly, the drugs will have certain activity which is going and binding to a receptor or the target, and it will have some stereo electronic compatibility or features. Then it should have the low toxicity because we are using the drugs for treating certain kinds of elements or the disease. So the drug should not have the toxic effect. It should be selective to the target. It should not select the other targets which is not required, because if they are activating or blocking the other targets, then there could be some other pharmacological action which we can refer it as a side effects or the toxicity. Similarly, it should have a appropriate bioavailability. So there are certain physico-chemical parameters and pharmacological properties which ensure the drug as a drug likeness, okay, or the molecule which have the drug likeness properties, it is similar to the drug. So there are three main phases of the drugs. So what are these three phases? The first and most important phase is the pharmaceutical phase. We also refer this as a biopharmaceutical phase. So this is basically the release of drug from the drug form. That means we are converting the drug into medicine or the formulation, and when we take that formulation, right, say for example we are taking a tablet as a formulation, so the drug is getting released from the target, from the tablet. The drug is getting released from the tablet. Okay, so that is mainly the pharmaceutical phase. So are we able to release the drug from the formulation? That is the pharmaceutical phase. The second phase is referred as a pharmacokinetic phase. So in pharmacokinetic phase, we basically concerned about the ADME properties: absorption, distribution, metabolism and elimination. So whenever we take drug, how body is behaving or reacting with the drug. In other words, what body does with the drug, that is basically an pharmacokinetic phase. So the body is absorbing the drug is distributed by the body, it is metabolized and it will be eliminated. So that is basically an pharmacokinetic phase. Then comes the pharmacodynamic phase. So this is basically, we can define what the drug does to the body. Okay, what drug does to the body is basically an pharmacodynamic phase. So this is the character and quality of drug interaction with interaction site of the biological system. So drug is getting dissolved in the body from the dosage form, that we are considered as a pharmaceutical phase. Then the drug is getting into the target, it is going to bind to the receptor and so on. So that is basically an pharmacodynamic phase. So these are the main three phases of the drug which we need to understand in the medicinal chemistry. Then there are certain basic terminologies which we will be using in the coming sessions when we discuss the particular class of compounds, let us say anti-cancer or anti-tubercular. We will be discussing the medicinal chemistry of these drugs. So we need to understand some of the basic terminologies involved in this particular subject. So first is a target. So what is a target? Target is a biomacromolecule to interface with. Okay, so what is our target? Let's say I told you about the isoniazid. So isoniazid is acting to the enoyl acyl reductase protein. So that is my target. So isoniazid should go and bind to that particular target. It should not go and bind to some other targets, otherwise it will have toxic or some kind of side effects. Okay, so target should be specified, it should be properly understood to design the molecules. Then after identifying the target, because target is a bigger molecule, then each target will have certain binding pockets, okay, which we refer it as active site, because your chemical drug or the drug molecule is targeting the target, it is going and binding to the pocket of the target. Okay, so binding pocket are present on the target and the drug moiety go and bind to the binding pocket, which we refer it as a active site, because if it is not able to go and bind to the binding pocket, then it will not have the pharmacological action. Okay, so that is the binding pocket. So it is a part of the target appropriate to bind a small ligand. So ligand is, here we are referring ligand as the drug molecule or the structures what we have designed, and we are expecting those structures should go and bind to the receptor. Second is the pharmacophore. So pharmacophore is basically a part of the molecule that we have recognized at the receptor site and is responsible for that molecule's biological activity. Okay, so if we consider the structure as a whole, okay, so the entire structure is not responsible for the activity, only certain part of the structure that we consider as a pharmacophore. So this is basically a natural space of the ligand which is responsible for the biological activity. Okay, so identification of pharmacophore is again important when we talk about the pharmacophore modeling and so on. Then next term is a ligand. So ligand is an organic molecule which possesses the target affinity. Okay, it has affinity, because of that it is going and binding to the target or the active site. That has to have the stereochemical features, especially the stereoelectronic features, hydrophobic pocket and so on, and that should be compatible with the binding pocket. Okay, so because the molecule or the ligand we are imagining in the 3 dimension. So when we talk about the 3 dimension features, we talk about the stereochemistry in terms of organic chemistry, and we need to consider, we need to understand those stereochemical features. Okay, what is a hydrophobic pocket, what are the electronic groups present on the ligand or the molecule, and that actually contribute to the biological effect. Okay, so that we need to understand. Then what is active? when we can say the compound is active? So active is a compound detected by usually high throughput screening. So high throughput screening is a kind of screening where we can take lot of compounds and we can simply screen those compounds, and from the thousands or millions of compounds we will get certain active compounds, okay, which you have usually screened from the high throughput screening. Then what is HIT? HIT is an active compound identified in a screen with confirmed structure and activity, okay, and that need to be developed into a lead molecule, okay. So first we have millions of compounds, from that we are identifying the active compound, then we are getting some hits, and hits will have certain confirmed structure and certain activity, and from HIT we can get the lead compound. So lead is something what we can have a hint. So the hint or kind of clue what we are getting, and this lead is active compound, but this lead has a problem of some toxic effects. There may be a problem with the potency, okay. So what we do, we optimize, we try to modify the lead molecule so that we will get the better compound, better activity and lesser toxicity, okay. So that is called as lead optimization. Then next term is a drug candidate. So drug candidate is better than the lead. So what drug candidate is? It is having high activity, the lead was having low activity, so we have optimized the lead into a high activity. It has a good selectivity, the lead may not have a good selectivity, because of that it will create a toxicity, and it will also have the in vivo efficiency, because usually the lead molecule are screened in vitro, that is outside the biological environment. So once you get the activity in vitro, that is outside the biological or living organism, then we take those active compounds which we have screened in vitro, we will screen in vivo, that is we will give that drug into a living organism and we will see whether the same kind of effect is observed or not. And after the drug candidate, when we screen the drug candidate, if they are found okay, they are better, then we can convert them into a drug. So drug is only after the successful clinical trials. There are different phases of clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 and phase 4, and then once all the clinical trials are okay, then it will be approved by the local or the government authorities like FDA, okay. So that is the life cycle of drug. And do you know how much time it will take? If I discover a new hit or new kind of molecule which is having some activity for a particular disease, then for giving the birth of that particular molecule and converting into a drug by taking approvals and undergoing a clinical trials, it will take minimum 20 to 22 years. It has to pass through a lot of barriers and it has to prove itself, it is safe, it is potent, and it is not creating any kind of adverse reactions and so on. Only after that we refer it as a drug, and before drug, whatever the stages it is going to pass, that is active, heat, lead, drug candidates and so on. Then what about the drug likeness? Drug likeness is basically the molecule when it have the ADMET properties, the desirable or appropriate ADMET properties. A stands for absorption. So your drug like candidate is having good absorption, it is getting distributed properly, it is getting metabolized properly, and after metabolism usually the drug will be excreted, so it does not have any problem with the excretion, and it is not having the toxicity to our living system, okay. So when your drug have all these properties, ADMET properties in a desirable or in a appropriate level, we consider that particular compound is having a drug likeness, okay, and drug likeness is very important. Then what are the steps involved in the drug development? So if I want to develop a drug, first I need to select the disease for which I am discovering or for which I am developing the drug. Let us say I have defined I want to discover, I want to develop the drug for a cardiovascular disease, autoimmune disease and so on. Then I have to understand the molecular mechanism of the pathology. What is happening inside the body at pathological level or at the molecular level, okay? That we need to understand, because unless and until we are not understanding what is going wrong in the body at a molecular level, then we cannot design, we cannot develop the drug for that particular problem. So we have to identify that, and that is basically at a molecular level. Then once we identify what is the problem at molecular level, then we have to do selection of key biomolecule to influence that particular problem. Then new active structure or compound identification we have to do. So nowadays we usually do with the in silico design or high throughput screening of organic molecule possessing appropriate drug likeness properties, what we discussed now. Then once we identify so and so molecule is active, then we have to see or we have to design the synthetic scheme for it. So that will be usually done by the chemist, because they are expert in synthesizing, designing, optimizing the reactions and so on. Then sometimes once we do the synthesis, we need to understand, we need to screen the molecule which we have synthesized for the biological assay. That is usually done by the biologist, because they are expert in handling the animals and understanding the biology, right? So that is a biological screening which we refer it as a bioassay. Then we need to optimize the activity and other molecular properties. So can we increase the potency of the drug by changing some chemical structure or some part of the chemical structure? So we retain the pharmacophore, and can we do some chemical modification in the structure, so that we can understand. Then once we are okay with the optimization, once the optimization is done, then we can go for the intellectual property protection, because we are spending lot of money in these stages to bring or convert the hit molecule into a lead, and then lead into a drug like, and then drug like into a drug, and then we need to take approvals. So we need to have some IP protection so that we can get the patents, and once we get the patent, then the company or the inventor can get the money from it, okay? Because it is a costly affair. Discovery and development of drug is a costly affair. Companies are spending lot of money for research and development. Then once we have IP protection, then we can run a clinical trials, and then we can have upscale synthesis, because we need to manufacture on large scale, and then subsequently we have to take the approvals. Next is what the medicinal chemistry includes. So I told you the discovery process is there. So the first is the process of discovery. So we have to identify and the production of new compounds. So these production of new compounds or identification of new compounds, it can be from natural sources, it can be from synthesis, and nowadays we have lot of biotechnological products also by fermentation and so on. Then nowadays with the help of computer and graphics, we can also have a computer aided drug design. So with the help of computer we can design a molecule, and we can screen those molecules virtually, and then only active molecules we can take into a lab. Then optimization process, so we need to do a synthesis, so some synthetic modification of the lead skeleton, we can do it, we can improve the effect, we can improve the selectivity, and we can suppress the toxicity. So that is what we talk about in medicinal chemistry, that is structure activity relationship, that is SAR, some people refer it as a SAR. Then comes about the development process, that is optimization of synthetic process for mass production of drug, because whatever we are doing on the laboratory scale or small scale, the same kind of setup is not possible at the large scale. So that is called as a process chemistry. And then we need to modify the pharmacokinetic properties of the drug, then it will be suitable for the clinical use. So there are different sources of drugs from which we can get the drug like molecules or the lead molecules which we can convert into a drug. So the first possibility is from the natural world. So we have a lot of natural resources. So from microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, we have some drugs from marine source. Then there are many medicinal plants which give some active constituents or the compounds which are having some therapeutic effect. There are animals which also gives the drugs, like you can see here, frog, snake, scorpion. We use the anti-snake venom, we have anti-scorpion bite kind of molecules. Then there are biomolecules, neurotransmitters, hormones which we are supplementing in the deficiency. Then there are pure natural products like bioextract. Nowadays we have a lot of Ayurvedic formulations, right, which are the extract of these medicinal plants or part of the medicinal plant. And of course from the ancient, from the uh, long ago, traditionally we are using certain medicines, Chinese medicines or the herbal medicines, right. So there is a ethnopharmacology, people are knowing this particular plant is useful for this particular disease, so we are taking those references and we are taking the parts of those plants and understanding what chemical constituents are present in that, and then we are trying to isolate those and trying to convert them into a drugs. Then there are synthetic products. We know there are lots of allopathic compounds which are derived from the synthesis. So most of the drugs, more than 90% of the drugs what we have in the market, they are from allopathic origin, they are from synthetic compounds. So usually we can synthesize the compounds in a laboratory. Usually we try to have compounds which having low molecular weight. Okay, so there are a lot of synthetic ways by which we can do a synthetic uh, compounds, we can manufacture or we can synthesize these compounds. Okay, then there is a virtual world. Nowadays we have a computer, we have a graphic system, so with the help of that we can design the molecules on computer, and the design molecules we can screen for certain activity. So we have the protein data bank. So we get the protein, we can analyze those proteins in the computer. So we can visualize the protein, we can understand what is the target, we can understand in target where is the binding site, and then we can allow those molecules what we have designed virtually, and we can ask the molecules to go and bind into a receptor. Then we study what is a binding effect, what kind of binding it is, whether it is a tight binding, whether it is a loose binding, what kind of interactions are involved in it, and based on that we generate the docking score, and then we can screen the molecule, we can filter the molecules. Okay, so virtually we can design millions of compounds and we can do some computational study, and then we can screen or we can restrict the compounds so that we can synthesize the limited number of compounds. Okay, so rather than synthesizing millions of thousands of compounds, we can virtually screen them, we can see the ADMET properties, we can see the docking score, and then only the certain kind of molecules which are active. So the computer will give you the uh, some guidance, certain directions. Okay, so you can take only these molecules, they are good in the docking score or in the molecular modeling, and only those compounds can be taken further. So there comes and research and development. So we can have a discovery of new lead skeleton is a key step in any research program. So we have to have a lead molecule which will give a hint, and from that hint we can have the further modification. Nowadays it is also the most problematic stage of development of new drug, because people are not getting a lead, they are not getting a hint, right, they are not getting a lead molecule which we can convert it into a drug. And then discovery of new lead structure in 70s and 20th century was based on a random selection, it was in a very haphazard way. Okay, so usually we call it as a happy discovery or screening of large number of compounds, which usually take lot of time and you have to spend lot of money on it, right, and we synthesize thousands of compounds, and at the end when we take them into a biology lab, we found that out of 1000 only few were active. Okay, and sometimes we have seen none of them were active. So lot of money we are spending, lot of time we are spending in those earlier days, but because of the computer advancement, information technology and understanding the genomic sequence, understanding or able to get the protein structure, we have the better approaches. So the approach, what we call it as a rational approach. So we are using some kind of rational, we are understanding the molecules and the targets at molecular level, and with the help of molecular dynamics, molecular modeling, we are understanding the structures, we are understanding the targets, and we are getting or we are generating uh, some kind of data by which we can screen the compounds. So rather than directly synthesizing 1000 compounds which we were doing earlier days in 70s and 20th century, nowadays we are designing those 1000 compounds on computer and then screening those 1000 compounds with the protein or the target this thing, and then out of 1000 then we will get at the end only 20 are active. It gives the possibility only 20 could be active. So we are only synthesizing those 20 and then we are checking the activity. If they are active then we are going further. Okay, so it will save our time and it will also save the cost, and it will also increase the possibility of getting the drug molecules. Then I told you in medicinal chemistry we will be discussing a lot about the structure activity relationship. So what we do primarily, the medicinal chemist has to identify the lead molecule, then it has to identify the pharmacophore of that, right, and then we do the possible kind of approaches. So what we do in this rational design, we will understand the structure and the activity for that. So if I do some kind of modification in the structure, what is the effect on the activity? Let us say in this particular structure, you can see this particular carbon number 2, here I am having a small size and electropositive substitution. This substitution is favored. So if I am having any substitution at carbon number 2 which is in smaller size, and it should be electropositive. So let us say if I am substituting here with methyl group at carbon number 2, then that is favored. So that will enhance the activity. Then you can see carbon number 3, small size electropositive and hydrophilic substitution is favored. So we will understand the structural features, and if I attach or substitute some particular groups, what will be the effect on the activity. If I am attaching electropositive group, whether the activity is increasing or whether activity is decreasing. Sometimes by changing small modification, doing small modification in the structure of active drug, the activity is getting lost. By small modification, the non-active compound will become active compound, and so on. So understanding the structure activity relationship is very crucial in the medicinal chemistry. And then we have certain derivatives of these compounds. Okay, only instead of chlorine I have a fluorine. So what will be the effect? So that will be considered as a derivative of that another this thing. Okay, so that is the structure activity relationship. So what are the strategies by which we can modify the existing drugs? Because existing drugs are already having approvals and they have drug likeness properties. So can we modify the existing drug? Can we do some structural modification in those structures? Yes, it is possible. So we can do some chemical modification. I told you there are different kinds of chemical modification. You can replace the functionalities, you can attach a particular ring. So any chemical modification which is giving the better activity, which is increasing the potency and it is increasing the selectivity, so the toxicity will be less. So that is very important. Then nowadays we have some drugs which are on the concept of bioisosteric replacement. So there are bioisosters which will have similar physical and chemical properties. So can we replace the existing functionalities with the bioisosteric functionalities? Yes, it is possible, and there are examples. By doing a bioisosteric replacement, it has increased the activity, it has decreased the toxicity. Okay, some new activities have been discovered. The drug was having anti-hypertensive activity, but after bioisostetic replacement, it has changed its activity from anti-hypertensive to, let's say, anti-cancer. So we are getting the new hints, we are getting a new compounds by some small modification. Then we can do a systematic screening, that is also possible. Then we can use biological information like folk medicine. So I told you the Chinese medicine or some ethnopharmacology, our ancient or people, old people have used the medicinal plants. They were knowing which part of the medicinal plant is active for what kind of disease. So that information we can take and we can start the medicinal plants, we can do extraction, we can try to isolate those compounds and we can screen them, we can synthesize them and we can check the biological activity, and we can take that as a starting point and then we can do some chemical modification on those. It is possible. So use biological information sensibly and try to convert them into a lead molecule, and then from lead we can get a drug molecule. Then nowadays we have a rational drug development. It is not like earlier days we have a lot of resources. I told you we have a computer and we have a lot of software coming out which are helping to understand the molecules and pathology or the living system at molecular level. So we can do a structure based drug design. Okay, so we know the active compounds, we know the target. So based on the target we can design a molecule, that is called as a structure based drug design. Similarly, sometimes we do not know the target, we do not know the binding pocket, so we can do ligand based drug design, that is called as LBDD. So we know the drugs which are already active for a particular disease, let's say isoniazid. So I know isoniazid is active and it is acting through an enoyl reductase protein, right? So if I am not knowing the structure of the protein, right, I know the INH is going into that receptor and it is activating. So I can design the molecules which are similar to the isoniazid. So ligand is a molecule which is active. So I can design a ligand, another ligand which is similar to the isoniazid. So that is ligand based. And then nowadays we also have a fragment based drug design. So whatever molecules which are already active, so can we take some of the fragments from one molecule and some of the fragments from the other molecule, and can we have a hybrid molecule? So we can have 3-4 molecules which are already established molecules for a particular disease, then we can pick up certain fragments from each of these, and can we have a hybrid or the fragment based drug molecule. And then of course we can design it virtually, and then we can screen them, we can see the docking and all those things. Okay, so that is called as rational drug development. Then genetics, genomics and the drug development. So nowadays the biologists have uh, discovered the genomic sequence, right? So because of the genomic sequence and the genetic codes, right, so we know genetically engineered drugs are also under development, and some of them are already there in the market, right? So that is also one of the strategies by which we can modify the existing drugs. Then we have computational medicinal chemistry, we have molecular dynamics, molecular mechanics, then Monte Carlo equation. So using these computational things, we can also modify the existing drugs. And there is a very empirical rule, what we refer it as Lipinski rule of 5. So this is a rule given by the Lipinski which help us to filter out the virtually designed molecules. So there are certain parameters which we need to understand, and if your design molecule is fulfilling the Lipinski rule of 5, then you can take those molecules into further process. So what is that Lipinski rule of 5? That means it is having a drug likeness property. For example, whatever molecule you have designed, their molecular weight should be equal to or less than 500. If it is greater than 500, the molecule may not be active. So this is one kind of you can say it is a it is a it is a helpful approach, right? It is a yardstick which is helping us to filter the molecules. So whenever I am designing molecule, I should see to that the molecular weight should not be greater than 500. Then we have to understand the lipophilicity, that we refer it as a log P. So log P of the molecule should be equal to or less than 5. So this is by thorough study what the Lipinski has done. Okay, so we have to design the molecules which should not have the Lipinski, which should not have the lipophilicity greater than 5. Otherwise, it will not go and reach to the target, right? It will not be active. Then in the structure, the sum of hydrogen bond donors, it should be equal to or less than 5, and sum of hydrogen bond acceptors, it should be less than or equal to 10. Okay, so you have this kind of yardstick. So based on these parameters you can design the molecules. You can take these considerations whenever you are designing the molecules. So this is a Lipinski rule of 5, and of course the polar surface area PSA you have to consider. Then number of rotatable bonds in the molecule, it should be less than 10. So these things we can understand, and we have to take those into consideration when we are designing the molecules. So what should compounds fulfill to become a drug? So biological activity. So the compound should have, of course, the biological activity, because for that only we are using. Then they should be chemically stable, because we need to preserve them, we need to convert them into a formulation, and it is usually used for 2 to 3 years, right? And they should have a particular pharmacodynamic properties, right? So we have seen what is pharmacodynamic and what is pharmacokinetic. Their selectivity, activity should be appropriate, admit properties should be desirable, and some other things, that is compound should be novel, right? Otherwise you cannot have intellectual property on it. And then scale up synthesis is feasible. Then most of the compounds, right, they fail in these parameters, especially the drug likeness parameters. So nowadays even more than 30% of the drugs, they are not able to convert them into, or they are not reaching to the market, because their poor physicochemical properties. They do not have a log P which is smaller than 5, solubility is not proper, then there is a problem with the molecular weight, and because of that the physicochemical properties are not appropriate, and because of that the molecule will not get approval, it will not be converted into a drug. Okay, and then obviously because of the physicochemical properties, that will also have a very strong impact on the absorption of those drugs and diffusion of those drugs, and showing activity on the biological or the living organisms. So we have to have a balanced between the drug likeness, the chemical space of the molecule, and the lead like. Okay, so with that we will get the drug. And along with that there are certain other considerations. So despite the good drug likeness, some compounds should be avoided as drug candidates. So those features, like if it contains substructures with known reactive or toxic mutagenic or teratogenic properties. Okay, so that is one of the thing which we need to consider. Then bad metabolic parameters, like if the drug is getting metabolized very quickly, then it will not show the pharmacological activity what it's supposed to. And then if it is inhibiting the antimetabolites, so the existing antimetabolites, if it is disturbing, if it is inhibiting, then it will have other kind of problems in your body. So you are taking the drug for one problem, and because of taking that drug for the problem, some other problems are also arising, so that will create a problem, right? So those consideration also should be thought of when you are taking the lead molecule and converting into a drug. Okay, so this is what we do in medicinal chemistry. So in the coming classes we will be discussing some more terminologies, the physicochemical properties of the drug, and then we will start the drug classes individually, and we will try to understand what are the structural features, what is the IUPAC name for that, and how we can classify the drugs based on the chemical classification, what is its mechanism of action, and especially we will give emphasis on how those drugs are discovered and the metabolism of that drug, whether it is undergoing metabolism by phase 1 reaction or phase 2 reaction, and the structure activity relationship. Okay, so these are the references from which this particular presentation has been prepared. Thank you all of you.